if she needs agendas, I can print some, I don't have them. You have, okay. Yeah, exactly. Oh. So you guys are gonna,
Me too.
you have to stay with her no matter what, so he's keeping you.
I walked here.
Did you have a?
It took me a long time. They go bring it. Tony, ¿sí ahora? ¿De para acá para que escuche? Sí. No, no. Sí. Van a comenzar, so que tengo que dejar.
Good evening and welcome to the Ordinance Subcommittee, Relationship Committee, Councilor President LaPlante and Councilor Maria de la Cruz. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Act of 2022, this meeting of Ordinance Committee is being conducted both in person and via remote participation. A reminder that the person who would like to listen to view this meeting while in progress may either attend in person at the location of or use any of the following access location. Facebook Lawrence City Council page and YouTube Lawrence City Council page. And also, I'm just gonna call the attention to Councilor Selena Reyes. Councilor, we are gonna be taking some items out of order. The first one is, we don't have minutes to approve. First item, can I get a motion to take document 1923 out of order?
So move.
Motion has been made, properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Document 1923 is a ratification of 2023 election schedule. City Clerk, it has been put on agenda by City Clerk Arlene Bernard. Madam Clerk. Ratification. So-
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I believe you all have a copy of the election schedule in front of you. If you don't, I have extras with me. It's in English on the front. So, we do put the calendar out bilingually, both in English and in Spanish. It does start in April with the availability of nomination papers, and it carries you right through to the final election, which will be on Tuesday, November 7th. All of the dates are either statutory or by city ordinance or combinations thereof. And we actually sent this to the Secretary of State for their office to approve and make sure we were consistent with the law, and they did send us back a letter that we are in compliance too, so. But what we usually do is bring it to the council before we publicize it and have you ratify it. So we just are asking if you would just ratify it with the vote.
Okay, so what I have in front of me, this is the schedule for this coming election.
Right, this is the, for the
That needs to
calendar,
be
the
certified
municipal.
to be sent, yep.
Yep.
So those are the day in the schedule, Counselor. Make sure that you read it through. If you have any question, this is the time to ask. No question, mean that everything is okay, good to go.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion, so Councilor President, do you have any question? Any objections with the dates?
No objections, we just,
Conflict?
it looks like we're gonna have a meeting, Madam Chair, not September, February the 6th. I think we have enough people to show up. So I just wanna advise the clerk and, she already knows, but others about.
February, oh, okay,
for the next
yes. So I'm thinking ahead, I thought February is like
For an election.
3
no, no, no.
months, no, okay, so you scare me, because I say we have election already. So, no any other question, motion is to approve? Yeah, with favor recommendation, motion has been made, properly second, all those in favor, the ayes have it.
Thank you, councilors.
The next document is 2023. Can I get a motion to take document 2023 out of order?
So move.
Motion has been made, properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Document 2023 is the determination regarding voting by mail and in-person early voting for primary and general election. Again, that has been put in the agenda by our city clerk, Arlene Bernard. Madam
Thank you,
Chair.
Madam Chair. You should have a short two-page memo in your binders, and if you don't have it, I have extra copies. But basically, there's 4 possible votes you could take on this item. If we want to have vote by mail, you do not have to take any votes. No votes would automatically require us to have vote by mail for our primary election and vote by mail for our general election. We did do vote by mail this last September. It was very popular. The state is requiring it, but because there's an expense, you can opt out of it. The expense really is the postage. For this most recent election, the state is actually offering us a reimbursement for the postage, so hopefully it will be a wash. So just to be aware that there are some expenses, but this year the state covered those costs. We anticipate that they would cover them again next year, but we can't guarantee that.
So say it again, so
We want to have vote by mail,
we want by mail, we
We
don't
don't
have
have to
to
do
take any vote.
no votes.
If we don't want by mail, then we
have to
have to
vote.
take
A vote.
We want it by
To
mail.
not have it, right. So the other part of this is in-person early voting. And in-person early voting is expensive. It cost us $15,000 to do in-person early voting in this last election, and we got about 500 votes. So just to be aware that that's very, granted, the next election will be a municipal election, there'll be a lot of local races, there might be more, but where we had a state election where most of the contested races were in the primary, by the general, there were really no more races, so a lot of people wouldn't come out to vote with the general election where there's not many contested races on the ballot. So that being said, you need to make a decision. And the other decision we need to make is if you choose to have early voting, but don't set a time frame, it's going to be presumed that it's for 2 full weeks. You could have early voting and say we just want to have it for 1 week, which would be half the expense. So that might be one thing to look at. I don't really want to make a recommendation, but I do want you to keep in mind that that's an option we could do, is to do 1 week of early voting for both elections. That would save us half the money.
Okay, question.
Yeah.
Okay, early voting, so give me the number again, 500 voters was the one that you count only in a week?
It was in over 2 weeks, and it was $15,000, and we had 500 voters, 508. So there was 8 more, but we had for 508 voters, so that's very expensive for a small number of.
Councilor Reyes, you have a question? No?
No, we need to spend more communication to our voting because I think it's not a good option to eliminate to have early voting. For me,
I agree with you, to publicize it better would be good. And I also do think with the local races, where 2 candidates tend to go on to the finals, most seats would be contested. So you would be more inclined to have voters coming out for early voting in our election versus like once somebody won, you know, the primaries, that's where most of the more heated races were in the state election that we just had for governor. So
We decide not to have early voting election.
At all?
At all,
Okay.
let's say. So what will be the plan, just following the question that Councilor Reyes was asking, just to advertise and inform the public to make sure that they're not thinking that, okay, I can do it this day because,
So the couple of things is, one is if people came into the election office, they can get a mail-in ballot. So you could come in 2 weeks early and get a mail-in ballot. You can mail it right in the hallway, right on the way out the door. So it's not vote by mail. I mean, it's not early voting, but it is, you came in, you asked to vote early, you got a mail-in ballot, and you mailed it at the mailbox that is right here in our building. That would just be the postage, which we believe we'll get reimbursed for. So I do think some level of early voting might be worth having, but I would, if you want to have it, I would encourage you to look at 1 week as opposed to 2.
When the time is right, I like to say, if you would, isn't it now?
what you ask the people when they start talking and they don't come to the podium.
Madam Chair, thank you so much. Mark LaPlante, 29 Durso Ave here in the great city of Lawrence. I can't speak at the full council level, so I take this opportunity.
This is
to
your
speak.
time, that's what I
This
want
is
you to
so-
come to the podium, so take
No,
your
no,
time.
I appreciate that. So regarding the early voting, my recommendation, my thoughts on it would be that we do not allow for that, with this caveat. The amount of money that we would, and I would ask the clerk, how much money would it cost to have either 2 weeks or 1 week? Do we have an estimated number? Have you done the math on that? Through you, Madam Chair?
2 weeks was about $15,000, and 1 week is about
Half. I would recommend, even if it was $10,000, that we take the money that we could save from that and put it right back into investing into our elections division, whether it's capital, whether it's training, whether it's something like that. Especially I think that we've been around the block, all of us. We know that the off-year elections in this city, when there's no mayor, the numbers really come down on these off-year elections. I would much rather spend those dollars that we have to improve the process, improve what's going on at the elections division, and make the experience a better experience, whether it's better training or better equipment or better whatever it is. That's my recommendation. And I realize that $15,000 may be a drop in the bucket, but we can at least start to make that investment. And regarding the, I guess my opinion on the mail-in ballot as well, maybe I'm a little old school on this stuff. I like it when people show up. I like it when people show up here and vote and make it communal. I think that there's something about bringing us together as a community on Election Day. And that, to me, we've been doing it as this country for a while, and there's something that makes us, which speaks to me as a community and as a country and as a city. So I like the fact that we do that. So I'm not a huge fan of the mail-in ballots, because there's oftentimes things that can go wrong. There's one more element of things that can go wrong. We've seen it happen. I'd much rather come here and actually vote in person. I think that's a much better place. So I just want to give you my opinion and my thoughts on that, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilor President. Your point is going to be well taken. Since we are only 4 here, I also want to give the opportunity to the rest of the councilor that are not here. So I believe this is important for everyone, just to kind of bring up, and express how they feel about it. I am personally don't want to change anything. I want just everything continue the same. And the reason why is because even though the low turnout was very low, as you has mentioned it, but it's a lot of people who has conflict with the hours, that just living for only 1 day is too risky for someone who really wants to exercise the right. But whatever, however, this is something that we have to take in considerations, and just to kind of give the opportunities for the rest of the councilors that they are not here, just to kind of give their input. So any question, Councilor De La Cruz, floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Clerk, if that money is not being used for the 2 weeks, will that money be used to advertise, to promote voting and promote election time?
We usually don't do that. We haven't done that before. Obviously, we would consider it. We don't really have we'd have to have your authorization, because we fall under, to move within the line items, that money would be like in a payroll line item to pay salaries to, the biggest expense for in-person voting is we have to staff it. We have to actually have 4 poll workers here all day long. So we would have to move the money from that kind of a line item to an advertising line item or something else similar. But we could make it work. I mean, that's your prerogative, so we can make something like that work depending on how you guys want to handle it. Yeah.
Through you.
So we have early voting, we have by mail, we have an absentee,
Yeah.
and
Absentee is different, though. In absentee, your vote could be challenged if you weren't really absent. Like, if I voted absentee, and then you saw me standing at the polls all day, someone could challenge my vote because I wasn't absent. I was in Lawrence all day long. So I know sometimes if I'm going to work on a campaign, not me personally, but if someone's going to work on a campaign, they might vote absentee the day before, or a week before, so that on election day, they can just focus on the campaign. That's actually not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go and vote and then come back. Absentee implies you're not here. So we have to be careful with the absentee voting. But yeah, you're right. There's the absentee, there's the mail-in, there's the early voting, and then on the election
and
day.
the day just to be present on the elections.
Yeah.
So we are really have like 4 different forms to vote at
Yes.
this moment. So what I would like to know is what is going to happen if we say, okay, we don't have the early voting, so we don't have the by mail, because this is a state law, or this is something that each city can determine if they want or not.
So the state requires us to have vote by mail if we don't opt out. So your vote tonight is, do we want to opt out or vote by mail? So you can vote, and there's 2 different votes. One is if you want to opt out, we would opt out both for the primary and the general, or just the primary or just the general. But so it's presumed that we're going to have vote by mail unless we vote to get rid of it. So that's the first one. And then the second one is the early voting. It's presumed that we don't have early voting unless we vote to adopt it. So if we want to have early voting, we would have to vote 2 times, once for the primary, once for the general, and set the timeframes that you want if you want early voting. But yeah, if you didn't vote, if you took no votes, it would be presumed that you have vote by mail. Yeah.
We're going to have the by mail, and also we're going to have the early voting,
Exactly.
because this is already approved before.
So we did early voting last year, and it was,
Yes.
people did use it. If you want to have early voting, the state allows it, you just have to vote to adopt it.
Okay. So, it's like it's our chair councilor say, we need to hear the voice of the
Yeah.
other council. But I would prefer to have, at least 1 week, for the early voting. Reason why sometimes people work.
Yeah.
They have different time to come. And maybe we don't, not the whole day or every day, but at least during the week, at least 2 or 3 times, like maybe Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, that they can come, the week before. So I think so that, and we do some kind of advertise,
Yeah.
letting people that this office is going to be open, just to give it the opportunity to those people that work to come and have, the right to get the vote out. That is my consideration at this point.
I think that's a smart idea, yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever you decide will be fine, but I think early voting is a newer concept, and I think as people get more used to it, they may start wanting to do it more and more. But as the councilor said, then that election day, that's kind of a unifying day for the city, would be a little bit watered down, because people have already voted a week ahead. So whatever you decide as a body will be fine. I just want to make sure you understand all the options and what things cost. So that's my goal.
So the only election that we had is that the councilor for this year,
So in the fall, we had the governor's race.
or the governor
And
race.
the state ballot election races, those both had early voting. at the primary and at the general.
The other general.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome, of course.
Motion to send to the full council for discussion.
As a committee report?
As a committee report. So the motion for the 2023 is to send it as a committee report.
So moved.
Motion has been made, properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have them.
Thank you, Councilors.
Madam
Good to
Clerk,
see you.
any other item?
Not for me.
It's always a pleasure to have you here.
It's nice to be here, on this side.
Councilor Levy, I know that you have requested the city engineer to be present. I believe the item is 410 on the second page. Yes. Right? Can I get a motion to take document 410-22 out of order and out of table?
Second.
Motion has been made, properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Document 410-22 is a road assessment and proposed modification. It has been put in the agenda by DPW director and the city engineer. So I have Mr. Rosario, the city engineer, is present for the question that you had at the moment that the item was presented. I know the councilor president also has a question. You want to start off? Yes. Yeah, Councilor President. Yes. The floor is yours.
All I want to do, I think, just is to recap, Madam Chair. So I think that this item has been on the agenda. I'm not sure how long it's been there for a while, and I think when the committee met last, the committee saw that the document was there and had some questions, because one of the counselors wanted to go ahead and she wanted to talk about a one-way street, and we discovered that there was a whole bunch of different one-way streets. And so this report was supposed to be not only given to us, but then with some explanation. Well, because of the previous engineer has left and is no longer working for the city, we were kind of in a stalemate here. So the letter from this committee went to the mayor and to the DPW and said, hey, listen, bring someone down here. So talk us through this memo. What is it that you're recommending? Have the counselors ask, the committee ask questions about why this street, why that street, or whatever it is, and get a better understanding as to the strategy of determining what streets should go from two ways to one way. And I don't know if it goes the other way from one way to two way, but I do know it goes from two to one. So I think that's the beginning.
But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Councilor President, that we all receive an email with the streets that is going to be one way and that is currently a two-way street. So I think this is going to be a little bit more of our homework, just to kind of review all the street. I know that whatever we're going to be passing on, and this is not answer your question, I'm going to give that opportunity to Engineer Rosario to explain, but I know that whatever is going to happen is not going to happen for this winter. It's going to be more like couple of months further up. So I don't think that's going to happen now, but let's hear all the questions so that way he probably can answer all in once, since we have that as a list, which street is going to be converted as a one, and two-way, which one is going to stay the same, because there is a lot of streets. And I don't think he's going to be able to memorize all the street. So I encourage all of us, like I did, not going to say the answer, like I did. I sat with the DPW director, and he kind of guided me through which one is going to be facing or coming down this way, and which one is going to go that way. So that's going to be a work that we probably have to do. But Councilor, before I pass to Engineer Rosario, so any question so that we can.
Yes, Madam
Councilor
Chair.
Levy.
Okay. Yes, the reason is like the question came because there are a couple of a couple of streets that we had in the agenda that is mentioned, one way. So that is why we say, okay, we need to have the engineer in here, because they were, let me see, I can remember. So there were a lot of requests for a street one-way, and we did not have it.
Okay,
report.
so that is when you have to kind of meet with both the DPW and the city engineer just to kind of see if that's going to be doable. But yes, that's a great question. I seen a lot of that has been requested that is not on the list. Great question.
Yes, and we don't have it, this list was not with the package and the request last, the week before.
Okay, Councilor De La Cruz.
I just wanted to, I went by some of the streets that we've recommended to be one-way, like Montgomery and Knox, and they already are. Then they are on the list and they already did the job. Then I think we don't have a report of the street that were done. You do now? That's good.
They do have, which has been converted as a one-way street. And so what they are going to do is, you can speak on the mic. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. To answer first the questions from Councilor Anna Levy, why we are doing this block of streets. It's actually a project that the engineering department has thought about of doing it, first of all, as a pilot project in that specific area, in the more conflictive area of the city, that vicinity, one of the most conflictive area traffic-wise. So actually we intend to extend the project to other areas where needed. That answer your question, Councilor Anna?
So last week or the week before when we had the meeting, like I said, we're looking on item 22-23, they were asking for the convention of Winter Street in just only one way.
Which street?
Winter Street.
Winter Street. Winter Street is...
But we don't, really, we can no answer at the time and we can do anything.
Yeah.
So I think so that we send it anyway to Officer Cano.
So-
But we ask you, or the person who was acting as the engineer right now, just to answer, because we don't have any information on that regard.
So for that, we need to perform a study, because there's a problem with changing the direction of traffic in streets. If you don't do it by block, then you can just congest the specific areas or other areas. And then a study has to be done by a traffic engineer. That's what we did. So we consulted a traffic engineer company, and then we did our part, like, you know, the measurements and the way we wanted it to be done and things like that. And Councilor Maria de la Cruz also asked another question.
That Knox Street and
Some of them are
and
already
Montgomery,
one way.
they're already one way.
One way. So on those that are already one way, what we are proposing is just the change of direction. Like if it goes southbound, we want it to go northbound. Because what we pretend to do is just alternatively, one street goes northbound, the next one over, the parallel one over, has to go southbound. And then, and so forth and so on. So you got that one? Like, so if you see a street that is just one way, we just want to change direction from, let's say, from north, if it's going northbound, just to change it the other direction. To have them alternatively going up and going down for residents, for better residents' mobility to their home. So, yeah.
Madam Chair? Yes. So my recommendation is, like, we need to look on the agenda that we have with us. There are a couple of streets that they being requested as a one-way. They are not in there, and maybe for the, for us to review it and see if we can send it, to you for review and determination on those streets. Like that one in here, the Winter Street, that is not in the list. That is my recommendation.
I believe when this came out, it was because was more concentrated in those areas, like the engineer has just mentioned, that has been congested, no matter if it's winter, it's summer. They are concentrated in the north side. Then they're gonna be, continue with the project. What I think we should do is, if you notice there is one street missing from the north side, I'm talking about like this park, what is the other street? Lexington, all the streets. There are narrow street, there are two-way street, parking on both sides was making life impossible for that plowing on the winter time. This is basically the complaint. The matter of fact, today, I got 2 calls for 2 different streets, and they are expecting that something is gonna be done this winter. So however, we all know that nothing is gonna happen overnight. This is gonna take quite some time, but I do want to see this moving. So I don't wanna just delay it. What we can do is, I don't know how we are gonna do this, because we have to order public hearing just to publicize all the streets that is gonna be converted as a one-way street. So, moving forward, that question is being answered, Councilor Levy, right? Or you have any other question?
Well, yes, well, it's not a question, but it's a suggestion, like I said before. You looking on the agenda, Madam Chair. Since, you know, that are very old, I don't know how, but we should send it to DPW department, or to send it to the city engineer, and for you guys to look at and see how we can move forward and get all those items in a street out from the agenda.
And we have a plan on, as I said before, it's just like we are doing it by block, but we present to extend it to other areas, but just as a whole. Because if you affect a street, you might be affecting the surrounding areas and causing, traffic jams, unnecessary traffic jams.
This is understandable, okay,
Yeah.
yes, we don't want to affect any traffic right now.
Yeah.
With all the problem that we have with the traffic, we don't want a more problem. But at least if you have like those street that is being tried, or the people are asking to convert in one way, and we say, no, we can move forward with the agenda, but also with whoever requested, so we can give a report and say, that is not possible to be converted in one way for this reason, and this reason, and this is completely
That makes sense.
out from here.
That
So
makes sense.
that's one of the things that I think, so that we all in here would like to see, clean this agenda that is getting very long, and so many items for 2000, whatever, the 14, 15, out from here.
Yeah.
So that's my major concern, that we can answer and we can get this agenda and also respond to the people that are asking for to convert, a two-way and one-way, or one-way, instead the south from north, or from north to south, so to just get out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. You can send them all over, and then we can just actually do the analysis. And we always involve a traffic engineer who is specialized in those things of traffic.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah, but we can, yeah, absolutely. So we can receive them all, and we can do the analysis and the study of those streets that has been requested to be one-way or two-way. Absolutely, yes.
Yes, yeah, okay, just to at least present a story on that, either we can do it or we cannot do it. Madam
Exactly.
Chair, I would like to make a motion. Okay,
Before we continue with the motion, I just want to make sure that we are going to be moving forward with this portion of the project. However, I had been in contact with the DPW director, and the last meeting that we had, he is putting together the rest of the streets that he feels like we need to concentrate and continue working on. But I do not want to table this item. I just wanted send it with favorable recommendation to order public hearing. We can't afford to have another winter without taking any actions. The north side is something that is getting very dangerous, and the reason why is because the streets are too narrow. When it's a two-way street and two cars is trying to passing by, one got that there first, they don't want to back up, and it's always an issue. Neighbors are concerning about the well-being and safety, that something might happen just because one do not want to back up and the other one just want to continue. So if you want to make the motion to send it with favor recommendation, this portion, because I know it's going to be another more streets that I know that you want to see some changes happen, but at least we can start with this one, see how it goes, and we can continue, send it over like the engineer was saying, send all the one that we have here. They're gonna make the study because they are the one have to. So police officer, they only go measure and they send it to them and they have to make the final decision.
so you want this to be sent to the full council with favor recommendation?
To order public
To
hearing.
order a public hearing.
So move.
Motion has been made, properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you, Engineer Rosario, for being here and taking the time to explain to us.
All right, thank you.
Yes,
Table items that I.
Pleasure, always.
hold on. Let me just ask, Mr. Guzman, are you here for any specific item?
I will.
Oh, you, are those, I'm sorry, yes, go ahead.
From my petition, 404,
Okay,
22, page 2. To be the leader.
give me all the three items that you want to take out of
Okay, 335, 22, and
330, 335, hold on, the last one. Okay, and yeah, and what is the last one? In 336, okay,
next page.
okay. So can I get a motion to take
335.
document
335,
4
336.
40422, 33522, and 33522 out of order and out of table?
So move.
Pe-
So move.
Motion has been made,
Second.
properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. First document, 40422 Platt Street, one-way, Councilor Rodriguez, Councilor De La Cruz. So you want to send to delete the petition, to withdraw?
Yes, I met with some of the constituents from that community, from that area. And, you know, they have worked on something long time ago, and changing to one way is not gonna help.
Okay,
Then we wanted to delete 40422.
okay. Thank you. Can I get a motion to send document 40422 to withdraw? Motion has been made, properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Pat, you got that one? Okay. Next document is 33522, resolution elect Lawrence School Committee, Jonathan Guzman. 335. So that's the, so what are we doing with this document?
Document 33522 and 33622, we have Mr. School Committee Jonathan Guzman, and we would like him to explain to us what is his petition in these two items.
Do you want me to take both items as a block and he can speak on both at the same times? Mr. Guzman, is that gonna be easier for you?
That's fine.
Yes.
Can I get a motion to take document 335 and 336 as a block?
So move.
Made properly second, all those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. So started with 335.
335.
Yeah, good evening.
So, good evening. Thank you so much again for
Name and address for the record.
Jonathan Guzman, Vice Chair of the Lawrence School Committee, 39 Lynn Street, Lawrence, Mass.
Thank you, sir.
So I'm just, thank you so much, Councilor Maria de la Cruz, for, I know you were fortunately not with us last time when this discussion happened, and what the school committee is asking on 335-22 is the support of the city council on providing a resolution in support of an elected Lawrence School Committee, and furthermore, join us in a joint complaint letter to the nonprofit organization and public charity division of the Attorney General to remove the Lawrence Alliance for Education, as they are they're breaking, not in compliance of Chapter 12 of the general law, specifically of the Acts of 2010, which provides this particular enact relative to the achievement gap, subsection 1K, which is the receivership law, Chapter 69. That particular law states who must be the receiver. The receiver is an individual, and back in 2018, there was an amendment made where nonprofit was established. So that particular word, nonprofit, got placed on the receivership law. And not the receivership law, but Chapter 12, when this began. And what did not change was the definition of this such receiver. And it clearly states that this receiver must be an individual or a nonprofit that has experience, has a proven record of working with districts under receivership or under the dilemma that we're on. What we were been able to discover was that the Lawrence Alliance for Education, Inc. is a nonprofit indeed under the Secretary of the Commonwealth, and they were actually founded in 2018. So if you were founded in 2018, you were not established before, you are unable to provide both this body and the state with a proven record of working with communities on this dilemma of receivership or underperforming chronically. We believe that Chapter 12 has been violated because of these accusations. And this, the Ordinance Committee sent this to the attorney of the city, which we do have one, that has failed to provide guidance on this item in particular since September of 2022. After multiple conversations as a body in the governance of the city, where the attorney is the individual that provides guidance, not only to you as the city council, but also to the Lawrence School Committee. One after another try has failed. I'm coming before you, and I thank you, Councilor De La Cruz, for allowing me to provide this, because we're wasting time in something that we have never had before us. And I hope that you reconsider on providing us the time to fight for our schools back.
Okay, we referred this item on October 14, 22, to the city attorney. We just today having a personal committee in the process to hire the new city attorney. We are working under acting city attorney, which he's only taking care of the matter that he can. Something like this is something that needs to be looked into it, which I think based on our conversation, I had mentioned it to you in the past. We had made our effort to make this happen, and believe me when I say that I have made phone calls, but just today, and Councilor De La Cruz was present, right? And we are in the process to get a new city attorney. She was in the meeting. So the office didn't fail. It's the lack of staff that we have working under only a gentleman that is running the whole entire office.
And
Yeah.
through you, Madam Chair, is when I mention failure, it's failure to respond to a governing body. No matter if you're acting interim, you still have the power of that office. And you are acting and you're getting paid for acting. This is not a free job. And with all respect to him, we need to be respected, and we're looking for guidance, and we want to move forward. We have never had a school committee like the one today that we have, that is establishing, is making forces across the Commonwealth. We just were able to support the first ever legislation called the Thrive Act, which will support not only our district to ensure that our kids graduate without having to have that burden of the MCAS, but also move receivership out of our districts. We're moving forward, and we have found information in which I know it's gonna take time. And if this is so, we wanna make sure that this communication open with this body and our body at the school committee. We're trying to give back, be active. You know, with all respect, we are not here for events. We're here to do our work, and that's where we are. And we want to be able to move further on this with your support. We want to do it together. We don't have to, but I think when we're able to find this type of information, educate ourselves, get guidance outside of this district in order to move quickly, because we're not receiving it at this district. And I was so sad when Attorney Rano had to leave, because we were starting something.
So in this case, what we are gonna do is, we are going to make a motion to refer the item again to the city attorney, and also to table the item.
My recommendation is to send it to the full council. Why? Because we need to discuss the matter. With all the respect to Mr. Guzman, we have a body of a school committee that were elected by the city. And they don't get the support from the public schools. They only have us. And we need to have the conversation. I make a recommendation to send a request for the attorney to be here on our meeting on Monday. But I would like not to table this. It is time to discuss it and to bring it out.
We have
and
to,
let-
Councilor De La Cruz, we have to send the pending his recommendation. Mr. Guzman just said it to you, we need guidance and he knows that I'm trying to help because I understand that what he's requesting is only fair. Yes, we have to do that, but we need guidance and we need to know because that is why we creating a subcommittee. We need to have all the paper and documentation in order. We can send a document without a support documentation, and that's the reason why I request if he can be present at this level, because I can be sending something that it needs to be reviewed by the city attorney. We want to this happen, to move forward. This is not the first time that Mr. Guzman and we have the same conversation. We have spoke about, and believe me, I'm on his side, yes, 150%. He's not asking for a favor. He's asking for something that is being taking longer, and I understand that. And he also just mentioned it. He knew that was gonna be taking time, but he started with the right position. He sent it this, we need to send it to the city attorney for recommendation and guidance, because this is what we've been asking. So what I encourage us to do, just to do it in the right way, is to ask the city engineer,
Attorney.
we were just
Can
talking
we
about
ask the
this.
city attorney to come in? Monday?
Yes, and he
That's
can
what
be
would you
here.
like?
We can table and ask if we don't get the response by our next meeting, he can be here and say, yeah, this is what you can do, and we can move forward. But by law, I can't just send it without that recommendation because we refer it to him. So we can table and request his presence because he already had the item. This is not the first time that we've been talking about this. So we can table and request his
I
presence.
did have a conversation with the city attorney today, but what he told me, he can say to everybody. I don't want to say his words, but he can explain it the way that he was explaining before.
He can come in front of us,
Yeah,
and we can take from
That's
whatever
what
he
you-
did say.
yeah.
So we can
I think
send
we're
it-
asking the same thing,
Okay,
for the city attorney to come in and
to the ordinance committee.
to the urgent.
To the ordinance committee, so we can send a recommendation to him to be present to our next ordinance meeting and table the item until he come in front of us if we don't get a response or reply from him.
Okay,
So motion to table and send correspondent to the city attorney to be present to our next ordinance committee. And we're gonna let you, Mr. Guzman, and we're gonna let you know when the meeting is gonna be taking place. It's obviously like 2 weeks from now.
Is this on the just 335-22, or do you want me to talk about 33?
Now to 336.
That is the 335.
The one that we just tabled, it was
335.
335.
Okay, I want to provide you a template with the letter, in particular for 335-22. Of course, it's for you. It's still not done, it's not sent because we're waiting, but this gives more guidance on
Okay.
why.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's for. Yes, that's for three.
We just tabling. So the 336 is a city chapter, section 5.11. Huh? We did. We did. To table and send
And send
correspondence.
it, so we never answer.
So let's go back to the motion. Pat, do you have the motion for the 335? So, Councilor Reyes, she seconded. Councilor De La Cruz made the motion, and I called the motion, everybody say aye. But we're gonna do it just to be on the safe side. The motion is to table and send correspondence to the city attorney to be present to our next ordinance committee. It was made by Councilor De La Cruz, seconded by Councilor Selena Reyes. All those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Yes, thank you, Councilor Levy. 336?
So 336-2 is a request to amend the city charter on section 511 for the school committee. This is basically requesting the city council to please support the Lawrence School Committee on becoming a well-rounded elected body for the city. This is the same dilemma where we are again, where this body sent for recommendation from the attorney to see if this is doable. What we requested on this particular amendment, it was to create an appropriation in the general government fund similar to the city council and the mayor's office for the Lawrence School Committee. So usually when you see your budget, you see that there's a particular fund that is called the general government fund, and under that fund you see the mayor's office for us, the Lawrence School Committee, to be our budget to be removed away from under Lawrence Public School System. Under the receivership law, we are not entitled to nothing. That even as a governing body, we don't have the resources that we need. This doesn't mandate an executive branch to provide the funding, but it's a whole to ensure that we're able to fight for it. For particular needs, space for the community to come and watch our open meeting laws, meetings, right, that are subject to the open meeting laws, that this body, this city in particular, if we don't follow that, the Lawrence Schools Committee gets sued, but it goes through the city of Lawrence. We have to remember this. We're a governing body of the city of Lawrence, and we don't have the resources established to make sure that we're following. The particular section also requests section 5.3 to create a secretary of the school committee and the city charter, removing the superintendent from being, yes, we can name the superintendent as secretary, which by charter it allows us, but the superintendent is actually an employee of Lawrence Public School Systems, as we know, and of the city, which doesn't allow us, under receivership, to use resources of Lawrence Public School Systems, right? So we don't have somebody to take minutes, somebody to call roll call, somebody to ensure that we have what we need to provide of any constituent, any resident, anybody from this nation that wants to call FOIA requests, right? We do our best, but we don't have those resources in order to provide any request like that is made to us rapidly within 10 days. Remember that. It's a FOIA request. You have 10 days to provide anything that these individuals ask for, and we want to have a system in where we're able to do that. And of course, this position, there's a lot of conversations that we don't see adequate individuals from our community taking ownership, running for these positions. I would love to see more parents running, more people involved. But guess what? This takes commitment. And even though some individuals don't see all the work that we do locally and statewide, we're in many areas fighting for voice, pushing, organizing, and ensuring that our parents and our students and staff are well protected and supported. And we are asking for language to be changed on 511 for the compensation operational expenditures to ensure that we as a school committee, under this general fund, were able to get funding not only to provide a parent that wants to run for a Lawrence School Committee seat and be able to get out of work early, have money for transportation or other expenditures like un cuido, right, for their children, because if their parents They will need, if they don't have a significant other or somebody that can take care of the child, in order for them to be present, they need somebody. They need those resources. And I don't think that's too much to ask. And for the amount that we're asking compared to so many other areas that are getting paid, we're just asking to ensure that they're okay and that we have the budget to support each other on this work. We're just beginning, and we, again, I think I will explore that more than ever. There has never been a Lawrence School Committee as dedicated as now. And all my colleagues behind me, like Dr. Manera Rivera, Stacy Stewart, Pat Mariano, and many others, right? They have tried. But what we have established and what we're doing, has never happened. And we have an opportunity to fight back. Thank you.
Okay, I do not have the letter for the amendment that you're looking to do to draft the final language. Do you provide that? I don't have it in my packet. That doesn't mean that we don't have it. Because in order for the city attorney make the amendment, he needs to have everything in writing.
I can re-forward. It was September 19th. It was.
Yeah, but I don't, that doesn't mean that you don't, that we don't have it. So what we are gonna do is, again, we have to refer the document to the city attorney for the final draft with the amendments, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, motion to, yeah, go ahead.
Madam Chair, I have a question for you, Jan, Mr. Guzman. If you want to make a parents' meeting, if you want to call parents for a meeting, are you allowed to do that?
I am allowed every expense that's on me. Meaning, if I want to make it accessible, bilingual, if I want to have food, because our parents, we are in a working class city, and our parents get out of work, and they don't have dinner, right? So they have to come, pick up their children, wherever they are. If they want to join and they're really passionate about their kids' education, they're gonna come to this space. But we actually did one of these where my colleague Joshua Alba, colleague committee woman Soto, took on the expense to have a advocate organization for special needs students to come into our city. And we had a great attendance, but because we were able to provide bilingual services, provide child services for the parents to keep their children safe, play while they learn about their opportunities, who is out there to support them on their fight to ensure that their children get the adequate need within the public school systems. So we were able to provide this and meet with our parents, but again, it's all on our expense, and I'm one.
But let's say that you want to have a meeting at the Parton School.
We would need to
you allowed
request
to?
this through the superintendent. Most of the time, it was denied. In the beginning, when we started, we had one meeting, and it was at the old Lawrence High School in front of the library. It was one meeting. After that, every meeting followed. Thank God we went remotely, because if not, we would have not been able to comply with an open meeting law.
Thank you.
Madam Chair. Yes,
Councilor Levy.
thank you. So when you want to have a meeting, you say that you are not allowed to do it right now at the school?
We can request it. They're not mandated to provide. Giving a space means expenses, as you know. Custodial work, police, the media department is extra costs for the district, and where they already provide these costs to the Lawrence Alliance for Education. They're not mandated by the receivership law to provide us these resources in order for us to have our meeting. So basically, a receivership law, this chapter 69, is created and is giving these problems to our district, figure it out. But we're still mandated and we need to follow them. Or we could just not have meetings, and that is not an option. We have come a long way. We have meetings bi-weekly, every month for now. The first Wednesday of each month, our next one is February, where we are having these conversations. We are ensuring that we're bringing knowledge and important issues to our constituent work, bringing people into the space to learn. We're the only school committee since receivership that received together 74.5 hours of training with the Massachusetts School Committee Association. Every member except the chair follow the law that requires you to do 8 hours within your first year of election. We did more than that.
Who are the members of the, now, after that's,
The members of the Lawrence School Committee.
yes.
So for District A, we have a mother, an alumni, committee woman Tracy Soto, passionate about education, passionate about supporting traffic control, special needs within our school district. For B, we have Committeeman Santiago Cruz, passionate about violence control, safety within our school system. For C, we have Committeeman Lenin Roa, a veteran, a father of 3 special needs students, an advocate, strong, educated, goes out of his way to support parents. From District D, we have Joshua Alba, a labor union supporter, strong, we all know him, puts out his neck for the better of the working class, specifically those that live and don't live here, our teachers, which is a large percentage of them. For District E, we have our very own Patricia Mariano that has served this district for years, from the level of becoming a teacher, principal, assistant, to now chairing the Lawrence Alliance for Education, was the vice chair of the Lawrence School Committee for years, and we thank her for her service that she has been able to provide to this community, and we thank you and all of you for providing her a space on the levy with her name in the library. And then there's me, an alumni, moved here in 2010, graduated from Lawrence High School, from the Math Science and Technology Academy, went out to college, came back, and I'm here. I saw what it is to not have student voice at the table and to ensure that that happens every single day without diminishing teacher voice or our community. And we have our mayor, Brian A. De Peña, as our chair by charter.
But the school committee is just only 6 members.
Correct. And 7 with the mayor as the chair. We're 7 members, 6 elected, 1 appointed.
Okay. So I know that Patricia is like the chair now for the
Lawrence Alliance for Education.
Lawrence Alliance. And who are the other members for that?
For the Lawrence Alliance for Education, we have Noemi Custodia Lara, Doctora Noemi Custodia Lara. We have Maria Moeller, Jess Anders, Brian A. De Peña, Mayor Brian A. De Peña. We have Julia Silverio, Patricia Mariano, and we have a student who is appointed to support the conversation, and the chair and the superintendent, who is now interim superintendent Juan Rodriguez.
So still we have that committee alive. So I thought that's leaving the superintendent and leaving some other people that was that committee don't know exists, or there are like maybe less people in there.
Yeah, that committee was formalized back when the former commissioner was, and they were able to establish this through the conversation of amending Chapter 12 to include nonprofit, creating this nonprofit. There's actually an open case that I mentioned on my last meeting here where the former chair, John Conley, was actually, he resigned from it. Later on, we found out that there was actually a complaint filed against him for conflict of interest, where his organization was getting paid from Lawrence Public School Systems while he was chair that is illegal. Such office of compliance said that there was no matter on that and that they would take own action to fix it. This person, still today, under the Secretary of Massachusetts, is the president, the secretary, the treasurer, and the only director on this organization. There's no appointed members, there's no elected members, there's no bylaws, public. At this point, I don't know what else to say of the point obvious of an illegal board that was just created for the benefit of the state. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair, so this is Mayra. What is the difference, like, for you guys to do the meeting, you know, at the school or doing at the Lawrence Public Library?
We're able. It gets tricky because, as you know, they changed their hours during the summer hours in spring for particular arrangements within staff, and we have to follow. We're trying to be consistent when we're doing our meetings, and we have noticed that virtual is working right now. But when that is lifted, that's where the concerns start happening. We're able to do it. We're able to establish meetings there. But again, no matter what we do them, there's staff costs. Over there is if we're allowed, we're gonna be able to have them. But no matter where we are, the city will have to take on costs because of staff or needed resources.
Thank you.
So we have a motion on the floor, which is 336, just to send it to the city attorney for the final draft. The letter has been provided, Mr. Guzman, if you can give me a copy, if you have any, with the secretary, that would be great, just in case, but I'm sure that he has it. And also to table the document.
So move.
Second the motion.
Motion has been made, properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Pat, you got them?
Yeah.
You got the motion? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Guzman. Thank you. So next document, we're gonna be taking Officer Cano, if he can give me the number, so that way I can take it out of table. How you have it in order, so that.
Good evening, councilors. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. The number is 15922, 24422,
Thank you.
29722, 29822. Do you mind if I just repeat so that? No, I'll repeat it over, just so you get it. So the first one, 15922. Second is 24422. 29722. 29822. 30122. 30922. 35322. 35922.
Can I get a motion to take document 159, 244, 297, 298, 301, 309, 353, and 359 out of table and out of order?
So move.
Second.
Motion has been made, properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Good evening, Officer Cano. You.
Good evening. The first item is item number 15922. It's being submitted upon request, was made by Councilor Stephanie Infante of District D on behalf of her constituent Lucy Santiago, who resides at 5 State Street. The request is for one handicap parking sign to be placed for one vehicle space in front of her residence. I met with the constituent, and this has been in the process for a while, so I apologize for the delay for her. I do definitely recommend for this request to be granted. If the council passes the request, the sign should be placed in the following location: from the southwest corner of Andover Street on State Street, traveling south to a point 50 feet, and from the southwest corner of Andover Street on State Street, traveling south to a point 70 feet. This will place the sign on the westbound side of the curb in front of 5 State Street.
Can I get a motion to send document 15922 with favor recommendation to order public hearing?
So move.
Second.
Motion has been made, properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, ayes have. Pat, you got that one.
Next item is item 24422. It's being requested by the applicant, Mrs. Quesada, at 136 Boxford Street, Apartment 1, for no parking sign to be placed in front of her residence to alleviate frequent blocking of her driveway. I have given her some advice as to how to deal with this nuisance issue. It's a problem that plagues our city every day regarding vehicles parking too close to their people's driveways. I don't recommend that we do any kind of signage at this point. However, I do want to let you know that I've been working with our counterparts, the Madam Clerk, City Clerk, as well as the City Attorney, as well as Inspectional Services and DPW. And we have something in play that's going to alleviate the issue, because technically and through the law, people are supposed to respect a certain distance between 5 and 10 feet from every driveway. So it's a matter of time before we're able to come down with documentation that we can publicize and then start acting. And it's going to become the process of enforcement, right? Like everything else. We can have any kind of signage, but if we don't have the enforcement aspect of it, then it renders us useless, right? Or unhelpful. So I don't recommend for this document to be granted at this point, and request for it to be withdrawn.
Before I call the motion, mistaken, officer, I heard you said that you met with the applicant,
Yes,
and it was okay with it.
yes, I advise her to call me personally. However, I also gave her the alternatives of the different ways that she can reach out to the police department by email or basic phone call for service for anyone that's blocking anyone's driveway. We will tow the vehicle. There's no question in that. So if there's anything in question, she can always call me, and I'll address the issue appropriately.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to send document 244 to withdraw?
Second.
Motion has been made, properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have. Thank.
Next document is 29722. It was requested by City Councilor Gregory Del Rosario of District C for a stop sign to be placed at the intersection of Forest Street at Crescent Street on the southeast corner, stopping the northbound traffic. This would be the intersection. This would make the intersection a three-way stop, as there already exist 2 stop signs. This would enhance safety for the motorists entering or driving through the area. There is a second ordinance request, document 298, which is coming up, which is the 4th stop sign to complete the request. So my observation of the intersection shows that there is a need for a 4-way stop at this section. It's very open and very deceiving and very dangerous. I do recommend for the request to be granted. If the council passes the request, The sign shall be placed at the following location: from the southeast corner of Crescent Street on Forest Street, traveling south to a point 5 feet. This will place the stop sign on the corner of the intersection in front of 49 Forest Street, facing northbound traffic at intersection with Crescent Street.
Okay, so what I have here is that this will make the intersection of three-way stop as there already exist. Two stop sign, and the second ordinance requests a document 298, which we're gonna be calling that. So, and it's gonna be in the same intersection?
Same intersection, but different location.
Oh,
So it's gonna become
I
a
see.
four-way stop.
Okay, so, can I get a motion to send document 29722 with favorable recommendation to order public hearing?
So move.
Motion has been made, properly second, all those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Officer,
Next item is 29822. It was also requested by Councilor Gregory Del Rosario to place a stop sign to be placed at the intersection of Highgate Street on Crescent Street at the northeast corner facing westbound traffic. This would make the intersection a four-way stop upon document 297 being accepted by the council. There currently exist two stop signs at the opposite sides of the street. My observations at this intersection shows a need for the four-way stop. It should be an all-way stop to enhance safety of motorists and pedestrians alike. I do recommend for the request to be granted. If the council passes this request, the sign shall be placed in the following location: from the northeast corner of Highgate Street on Crescent Street, traveling east to a point 5 feet. This will place the stop sign at the northeast corner of the intersection on Highgate Street on Crescent Street, facing westbound traffic.
Councilor, can I get a motion to send document 29822 with favorable recommendation to order public hearing?
So move.
Motion
Second.
has been made, properly second, all those in favor? The ayes have it.
Document number 30122 is being requested for a one-vehicle space for a handicap parking sign to be placed in front of 41 Milton Street. The request is made by daughter, Mrs. Cedano, on behalf of her mother, Mrs. De Los Santos. After speaking with the parties, it was requested to withdraw this item at this time till further notice. Recommendations would be followed to see if it would suffice. Upon petitioner's request, please withdraw the item.
Can I get a motion to send, document 301 to withdraw?
Second.
Motion has been made, properly second, all those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Item number 30922, submitting the request for one vehicle space for a handicap parking sign to be placed in front of 182 Water Street. The request was being made by applicant Mrs. Reynoso. This address is a multi-use brownstone corner lot with limited space for one vehicle parking in the rear. Rear space and side street at Merrimack View Court is not feasible for the applicant. It's really small, it's a very heavily used space, and it's just not the proper place for parking for handicap for an applicant. I do recommend for the handicap sign to be granted in the front of the address, which is on Water Street. If the council passes this ordinance request, the sign should be placed from the southwest corner of Riverview Place on Water Street, traveling west to a point 114 feet, and from the southwest corner of Riverview Place on Water Street, traveling west to a point 134 feet. This will place the handicap sign on the south side of the sidewalk in front of 182 Water Street.
Officer, did you speak of Mr. Reynoso about putting in the Water Street, which is a very, busy street. So he's okay with it?
He's okay with it. At this point, there is no other solution at this time because the property, so Riverview Court, or place is a secondary street. If it snows, they're not gonna get plowed out. She won't be able to get out. And in order to get from Water Street onto Riverview, it's very difficult, especially for someone that is handicapped. So the only option would be Water Street, and that's the space she uses primarily,
And she's okay with
yes.
Water Street. Can I get a motion?
And may I say that she travels with her husband, so he is the one, he basically drives her. So she's the passenger, so she's gonna be getting out on the sidewalk, which made me feel a lot better.
Okay, thank you. That made me feel better. Counselor, can I get a motion to send document 30922 with favorable recommendation to order public hearing?
Second.
Motion has been made, properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Next item is 35322. It's in response to the request for one handicap parking sign to be placed in front of 23 Springfield Street upon request of the applicant, Mr., I believe the pronunciation is McCure. The address is a multi-unit building with no off-street parking available for the residents. I recommend for the handicap parking sign to be granted if the council passes the request. This ordinance request, the sign should be placed at the following location: from the southeast corner of Parker Street on Springfield Street, traveling east to a point 273 feet, and from the southeast corner of Parker Street on Springfield Street, traveling east to a point 293 feet. This will place the handicap parking sign on the south side of the sidewalk in front of 23 Springfield Street.
Can, again, that's the same question. So you spoke to the applicants,
Yes,
and they okay with that? That's a
Yeah.
another busy street, and they okay with it? It's the same.
but it's a
same
lot,
Yep.
so Springfield Street is a two-way street, it's a lot wider.
Yeah,
I don't think that there's as much concern as it would be for a smaller, tighter street. However,
it's gonna be in
the applicant, because it's a multi-unit building, there's about 6 to 10 units.
Okay,
There's no parking for the building. So
okay.
there's not much,
as long
we
they
could
are
do
okay
for them.
with, that they are requesting in one specific place, and they are gonna be getting in a different one spot, we just want to make sure that they're okay, because, after we order a public hearing and all of that, we don't want them to come back and say, oh, no, I don't want it in this spot. So thank you for doing that and that clarification. I'm looking for the motion to send document 35322 with favorable recommendation to order a public hearing.
Second.
Motion has been made, properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Last but not least,
last but not least is document number 35922. It's being requested for one vehicle space for handicap parking sign to be placed in front of 265 Prospect Street. The request is made by the applicant, Mr. Torres. This address is a single-family home with no off-street parking available. I do recommend for the handicap parking sign to be granted. If the council passes the ordinance, the sign should be placed at the following location: from the southeast corner of East Havel Street on Prospect Street, traveling south to a point 285 feet, and from the southeast corner of East Havel Street on Prospect Street, traveling south to a point 305 feet. This places the handicap sign on the east side of the sidewalk in front of 265 Prospect Street. And just to give you a reference as to where it is, it's the house right after Ulloa Shipping.
Oh, that was my concern.
Councilor De La Cruz, you have a question?
Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Yes, my concern was the Ulloa Shipping, they have asked for the way to bring their truck out. Then will that affect that family?
It wouldn't affect them because it's on, the way that the truck goes in and out won't hinder the availability of the truck
Okay.
because it's actually on the same side
Okay,
and it's the one that's on the
no problem.
office side.
If it
So
is on the same side.
It's the only side that's really is convenient.
Yes, okay,
So, thank you for.
thank you.
Yes, Councilor Levy?
I just received like a complaint regarding the way that these people from the Ulloa putting those truck. He taking, like they taking the visibility sometime from the, what is the name? Prospect Court. And people are not able to see when they coming from Prospect Court to Prospect Street, and they are not able to see when they gonna get to.
It's something that I can go take a look at, but I think that Prospect Court is a distance away before you get to Aurora, so that's a whole different issue in itself. That maybe the homeowners on either side of Prospect Court, as they come onto Prospect Street, maybe they're parking too close. Everyone's supposed to have 20 feet from any intersection. And I think that just needs enforcement to ticket those vehicles that are parking too close to allow the vehicles to enter and exit. And I think Prospect Court is a one-way too, if I'm not correct.
Yes, it's a one way,
mistaken.
but when they coming,
Yeah.
through Prospect Street, well, you're gonna see the request that I did it, because I had a couple complaints on
I'd be
that.
happy to meet with you during the
Yes.
day, whatever time.
Yeah, I just
and
put
we
it
can
some,
go
I did some requests that it's gonna come for the next week.
with the constituents. They can,
Yes.
meet us there, and we'll be more than happy to
Yep.
take a look.
Yep.
So I think
problem.
you should go with him, because I remember that's exactly what happened with Councilor Reyes and I, when they was trying to get a loading zone, parking space taken, that took us so long, and that was the reason, because we get a numbers of complaint. I happened to be in that neighborhood meeting, not because it was my district, but the complaint was rise when I was present. I think we should go, and we did go, we met with residents and work out perfect. So take both, you go with Officer Cano and make sure that you pick a day that you can be meeting with the resident.
The problem there, Mr. Cano, is that whole block, they're not following the law. They parking right in the corner from everywhere on Prospect, and they forgot that that's the emergency street for the ambulance. And this Saturday, I even saw that it was 3 cars parked. Then I did call the police. Then that's what we need to do. Whenever we see those things, we have to call, because you guys cannot be everywhere every time that, but the corner of Prospect and East Haven is the one causing all of that problem on the whole block.
I don't believe that we don't need more signs. We just need people to be courteous, respectful, and know that you can't park within 20 feet of any intersection. I know, sometimes we just want convenience, but sometimes convenience comes at a cost. And it could be just because someone just doesn't, they're in a rush, and then they forget where they park. So,
Need a camera there that give out the tickets, like in New York. Right on Prospect and East Haven.
So I just gonna, I'm sorry, through you, Madam Chair. I'm just gonna call you that we can go by, and I'm gonna show the problem right in there. But you're gonna see next week, I just put it like a sign, and a stop sign facing the Prospect Court, just facing the Prospect Court, so when they coming down, so that they can stop on that corner. And also, I ask, no parking here to corner in each side of the say on Prospect Street. I did that request. You're gonna see it next week.
okay.
but I can go by and that we can walk in there and see some of the problems that we have in there.
Okay?
Thank you
Sounds
so much.
good.
So I think you should coordinate with the resident. Call like, like a mini or neighborhood meeting, whatever you want to name it, and ask Officer Cano. Sometimes he can be flexible with the hours. He always has been with us when we have the neighbors meeting, and do that. So moving forward, the motion is to send document 35922 with favor recommendation to order public hearing.
Second.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you, Officer Cano. Always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
You're gonna have a
Miss you.
bunch.
We miss
You're
you.
gonna have a bunch. I don't like you when you send me like 10 at one, but I think that's the way you wanna push it through. You're gonna have quite a few. I don't know if you wanna stay and hear all the ones that you're gonna be getting, but, thank you.
I've already reviewed them. There's quite a few.
Yes.
Looking forward to it.
I don't want to see you with all the reports in one, please. Counselor, can I get a motion to take all the documents as a block?
So move.
Motion has been made to take it as a block. We're gonna be reading one by one, but we're gonna make one motion, okay? So the first document is document 80823, handicap parking at 4 Burlington Street, apartment 81. Next document is 923, 15-minute parking, Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 359 Lawrence Street, Juan Hidalgo. The next document is 1023, stop sign request, intersection of Shaktuk and Carver Street. It has been put on agenda by Stephanie Infante. The next document is 15-minute parking at 485 Broadway, Garcia Beauty Supply. The next document is 15-minute parking, 491 Broadway Street, Paula Express Corporation. It has been put on agenda by Councilor De Rosario. Next document is 15-minute parking at 461 Hampshire Street, Jacobo Supermarket, Councilor De Rosario, and Ramon Bello. Next document is 1423, loading zone, Oxford Street, rear of 450 Haber Street, put in the agenda by Councilor Giovanni Rodriguez. Document 1623, 1 hour parking, 2 space, 264 and 266 Lower Street, Councilor Rodriguez. Document 2123, 50-minute parking at 511 Broadway Street, Latin Market, Mini Market, Councilor Del Rosario. And document 2223, one-way conversation of Winter Street, northbound from Access 3 Tower, Lawrence Street, Councilor Giovanni Rodriguez. Can I get a motion to send all the document to Officer Cano and also to table the document?
So, second.
Motion has been made, properly second. All those in favor? The ayes have it. Pat, I'm gonna repeat it one more time. 0823, 0923, 1023, 1123, 1223, 1323, 1423, 1623, 2123, and 2223. You got all that. So the motion is to send it to Officer Cano for traffic study and also to table all the document. Thank. 404. So we send that document for withdrawal. Yeah, that's the one that Councilor De La Cruz is for withdrawal. Okay. Okay, if it's not any table items, since we're gonna be cleaning the agenda, the package, I'm looking for the motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion has been made, properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you all, and have a rest of this evening.